Alright, back off. Just a little video of a temporary monitor here showing what the backup camera image looks like. Notice you can't see anything on the edges of the top or the bottom of the screen from the car. If there was much different of an angle, you'd see a little bit of that in the camera or a little bit of that in the camera. So that's about the right angle. For the rear tag lights, I may actually have to put something in there to turn those down a little. They might be a little too bright on the tag light. This camera looks like in my little test monitor in the dark. So that's what the backup lights. They light up pretty good. So here we have power, ground, tag light, and reverse power. Now, when I give my tag light power, those little LEDs show up in there, so that's to light the tag up. And then when I give reverse power, little camera drops down and reverse lights come on. Alright, so this is the parts detail. This is the stock part, the license plate light cover trim piece. Had to add these two holes for clearance. Let's see why a little bit, and obviously open all that up so I have room to pass things through. This was my stock piece. It wasn't in great shape, so I had to sandblast it, wire wheel it, and then I did powder coat. They call it a single stage chrome. Came out pretty good. You don't hardly see it anyway. And this is the bracket I made to hold most things. You don't see this. I powder coated black. This goes up inside. So this goes inside the car. And these two sandwich the rear fiberglass. And this is kind of what holds everything together. This is the stock license plate light cover. I did have to trim the sides a little bit, just grind them down a little bit so that it fits a little bit more loosely up in here, because it was kind of tight and the little actuator didn't have enough power to lift it up in there if it was too tight. So it just gives me a little bit of clearance. It's some really thin LED strips that go in here. This is 1/8 inch ABS plastic. This was some aluminum bar. This was just kind of to give this piece some strength so it wasn't wobbly. Screws go up through. Originally, I had the screws welded to a bar and then nuts on top, and I adjusted up top on the nuts. But then the problem was I couldn't adjust it within the car, so I changed that to now these nuts are welded to a bar so they don't move on you, and then you have screws down here. So now in the car from the bottom, you can undo those to take it apart, or to loosen those, tweak it a little bit, tighten it back up to get it perfect, to get this aligned perfect so that it fits up inside that. Okay, now let's see. So this was 1/8 inch ABS, and then this is 1/16. And how you make this is first make a wooden buck of the shape you want. Heat it up with a heat gun, push that into some foam, let it cool a little bit, and then trim it. And you end up being able to make a shape pretty accurately. What this does is it bends around to the back and then is glued to the back here. And then I have a flat top piece, and then obviously this flat bottom piece. This one's all assembled, obviously. This was my first go around at it, so you can kind of see the parts. So this flat piece here, there's another piece of 1/16 ABS glued to it here for kind of a lip. And the idea is that when this fits in there, it fits over that and makes it so that it can't slide around. Gives it something to bite onto. And then the same thing here for the top. This top piece here is two pieces of 1/16 One obviously a little smaller so that it fits into that. And then when you hold it all together, it makes that pretty strong. And then the centerpiece is glued with ABS glue to the back slider. This was my first one. A couple things I didn't like about it. It fit a little loose. I didn't like the camera angle. I changed it up. I ended up remaking all of these pieces. So this was the first go around. Back to this one. 1/4 inch ABS. And then this U-shaped framework was made out of this aluminum, what is it, C-channel, U-channel, 1/4 inch inside. And then an aluminum flat bar welded across the back. That is most of the part. Oh, and also obviously the actuator. And the actuator, that's the specs on this actuator that I ended up using. And double pole, double throw, 12 volt relay, so that I can flip, because the way these actuators work is you give them 12 volt power negative one way to go all the way up and just leave it on and it cuts off on its own. You flip the positive and negative to go the other direction between up and down, and it goes, you just leave the power on all the time. And when it hits the end of the stroke, it stops. It cuts off, it has its own internal cutoffs. So that's kind of neat. So all you have to do is you had this actuator wired up to flip the positive and negative up and down, depending on if the relay's flipped or not. So the relay's input is the reverse 12 volt is what trips the relay, and that's what makes the actuator go down. And then when you remove the 12 volts, the relay comes back, and that's what makes the actuator go up. So it looks like all assembled with it down, obviously. This, from my thumbnail down, is what you'll see. Everything above that totally hidden inside the car. So this is your trim plate. That's normally what you'd see. These were stock bolts that normally hold this lens up. And then this is actually just a self-tapper because it would stick up too far into the camera. So it just threads into the plastic and holds it, a little bit. Doesn't need a whole lot of strength there. And this is obviously, again, the stock one. And those bolts are the reason why I had to open these holes up here. So they actually protrude up through those holes. This is what it looks like when it's all up. This goes up flush. No, normally you put that screw all the way in. I didn't do that. Also, there's a little bit of a gap here because this would be tightened up and sandwich your fiberglass and your license plate holder trim piece. So those tighten against that. And then once that's tight, that's about the gap you have. And from the outside, this looks, unless you look up here and you can see the LEDs, I mean, it's stock. It looks stock. So when you're looking at it from the outside, it doesn't look unusual at all. So when I did this the first time, I tried to use little spacers here to tighten against for these nuts to squeeze against, so I could tighten against something to keep them backing out. The problem is this is not parallel to this. This, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but is angled this way a little bit so that it's pointing the light towards the license plate, which will be behind this. So this is not 90 to this. This is not parallel to this. So the problem was when I put this up there and tightened it, it wanted to force this to be parallel at the top, and then it didn't match this and it wouldn't close right. So couldn't use these. So I had to kind of just crush the threads on this a little bit to give a little mechanical tension so that these don't vibrate loose. Also, there is a U mount like this on the top. You can't see it, it's hidden there. But the other side of that, you can get to the bolt here. When it's in the car, you can get to that nut, the nut. But I welded the head of that to the U mount, so it would be the equivalent of that bolt to that U mount on the top here, so that in the car, if you ever had to get it out, you could undo that nut and slide this out, and then this whole thing actually slides out if you had to disconnect it while in the car. Here's what little you can see from the inside. This is, looking at the back of the license plate. You go up under there, and you can kind of see the the framework there, and you can see the relay and that bolt you could get to if you absolutely had to disconnect. I don't know if it'll focus on it, but there we go.